Welcome to the Sathya Sai Center of Chicago Metro. We're so excited to have you all here today to help us celebrate Avatar Declaration Day. Already it's been almost a little over an hour, and we've had such blissful, peaceful meditation, followed by equally blissful, energizing bhajans. And I'm so excited to join you all in what the rest of the day will have to offer. Avatar Declaration Day, as you all know, is the day Swami revealed the truth that he is the Avatar, that he has taken birth as God in human form. And so in the spirit of revealing those truths, we have with us our esteemed guest, Father Dr. Sunder Iyer, for a day full of talks, sharing and insights and learnings that will help us uncover more truths from the truth that he revealed on that day. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Father Ram Katuri to give a short introduction for our guest.
Saram. Good morning, everyone, and I offer my humble salutations at the divine lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. As we are celebrating Swami's centenary birthday celebrations and commemorating Avatar Declaration Day today in Chicagoland, it's my honor and privilege to introduce our keynote speaker for today's mini retreat and a crown jewel of his Swami devotee, Dr. Sunder Iyer. Dr. Sunder Iyer is one of the first students at Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, where he worked as a professor later and taught banking and finance until 1994. While he was at Prashant Nilayam, he was one of those privileged few to be one of the personal attendants of Swami, and he was blessed with many amazing experiences and an enormous amount of physical proximity to Swami. Now, a few exemplary devotees take that physical proximity they're blessed with and translate into spiritual proximity with Swami, that is, living in his omnipresence constantly. Dr. Sunder Iyer is one of those exemplary devotees who has taken that physical proximity and grown spiritually so close to Swami, and one of the most spiritually advanced devotees of Swami. Over the years, Dr. Iyer has served Sri Sathya Sai organization in many capacities, mentoring youth, serving in medical camps, and supporting service initiatives that uphold our Swami's ideals of compassion and selflessness. Those who have worked alongside him describe him as a mentor, a friend, a brother, and a teacher who lives what he speaks, and one of those few who uplifts those around him quietly through his example. A passionate yoga practitioner, he was the only student of Swami to receive a gold medal for yoga at the university's first convocation. Since 2011, he has dedicated his life to spreading Sanatana Dharma, Vedanta, and yoga. He is also an amazing singer, a great athlete, and a sportsman. In short, he is a role model for many of us who are alumni of Sri Sathya Sai University and many spiritual aspirants and seekers across the globe. Without any further delay, please join me in welcoming Brother Dr. Sunder Iyer.
Sai Ram, dear sisters, dear brothers, I offer my most prayerful and grateful pranams at the lotus feet of our beloved Guru, our beloved Master, the only God I knew and experienced, Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. When I see a former student, an alumni come to introduce me, I keep my fingers crossed. But I must say, Ram is my new best friend. Thank you for your very kind, very warm words. Next time I'm in Chicago, I'll request that you introduce me time and again. Thank you all for having me. It's indeed an honor and a privilege to be amidst Sai devotees, to share a platform with people who have known and experienced God. And therefore, the few thoughts that I will share today perhaps might look like talking to the choir or preaching to the choir, as they say, so allow me to indulge and share my perspectives. Satsangs like these are meant to reaffirm what we already know, to relive those faith, those experiences, those moments in our own spiritual journey. And we go home feeling energized, refreshed, and having more faith in our journey towards the divine. Before I begin my talk, I must confess that there is one person I miss in the midst today, Dr. Ram Bala. He was the one who showed me this center the last time I was here, walking with us, proudly showing every single room, one of the founders of this beautiful institution of love, unity, and service. So my heart goes out to him, and we all know beyond doubt that he is with Sai in the most divine place, and we cannot but feel jealous of him at this moment. Thank you, Dr. Ram Bala, for being an inspiration for so many decades and bringing the Sai family together and showing us how it is that we can grow and live together in the canopy of Swami's love. I still remember how he sat behind the harmonium in Paddy and Lakshmi's home when I sang a particular song in one raga. I just sang a bhajan after that, and there was one note that was missing. He said, "Sunder, it's not the right raga." He gently prodded me on to the right one. So with his own gentleness and sweet nature, he was a guide to many of us, I'm sure. And certainly he was a great inspiration to Maya and I as well in this region. There was a debate that was coming up in the college, and the debate was between religion and spirituality and luck and grace and so on. And so I was one of the speakers of that debate back in those days. And I was ardently preparing some points. And I had a few papers that I had prepared points and kept, and I was sitting in the veranda when Swami came out and called me for some other work, but called me inside. So I grabbed those papers lest they fly away or appear untidy. I just took it with me, also hoping that Swami will say something about that debate. I might get some extra tips and make a mark on the debate, if you will, because everybody wants to win in a debate, right? Nobody wants to lose. That's what it's called, a debate. And therefore, I sneaked those papers inside. I sat at Swami's feet, and of course, Swami had given some small work. After that, he just said to sit, and you started talking. And I kind of gently pushed the papers in such a way that Swami could glance and say, "What is that?" You know. But strangely, Swami did not look at it at all. He kept talking to me about everything else, but asked me what is in that paper. But he noticed that I, once in a while, with touching Swami's feet or pressing his feet, I also nudged the paper to the side, maybe subconsciously, but I was hoping Swami would talk something about religion, spirituality, give me an idea. And then suddenly Swami turned to me. Among many things, he turned, and this one conversation between Swami and I remember because it was very profound. It gave me an insight into the debate that I had to speak a week or two later. And it was this. Swami looked at me and says, "Who is God?" God and everybody. He asked, "What is God? Who is God?" So you know me, the know-all and the be-all. Later on I learned, just keep your mouth shut when Swami asks a question, let him only provide the answer. But those are the days I wanted to impress Swami. So the first thing I said was, "Swami, God is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, perfect definition, right?" And so he looked at me, "Inka, anything else? God is love, love is God." And then very sweetly Swami asked, when you're speaking about God, are you thinking of words to describe God, or are you thinking of God? Are you thinking, what words should I say? So I just looked at him. I didn't understand where he was going. How else can you describe God without words, without thoughts, right? Swami said, what language can you describe God? And I foolishly said Sanskrit. I don't know, Aham Brahmasmi or something like that. And Swami very gently shook his head. He knew I was nowhere near where he wanted to take me, right? So very sweetly he shook his head. Think of God, he said, when you talk about God. Don't think of words to describe him. Don't think of language to describe him. Think of God. And tell me, he said. So sitting at Swami's feet, I had no clue what it was. He said, tell Chakku, put Chakku. God and every Chakku. Then loudly I said, God is, and I'm thinking of words now, I still can't get it. What do you say after that? God is Ade, he said. That's it. Ade answer. I was repeat, I'm not finished yet. What is this? The perspective of a master is so profound. That is why he awakens us. And that is why the theme of this presentation is the gratitude of acceptance. We fail to accept the teachings of Sai, which are so simple and so profound at the same time. Ade, he said. And he was so happy that he got the answer, and I got the answer. He pressed my head and got it from the side. Ade answer. And he went to the window, he looked at me, Ade answer. And I looked at him completely lost. And then he explained, God is Ade. Devudu unnadu. Ante inkem ledu. Every other word that you use to describe God is your imagination of God, not God. God is love, God is power. The your illusions about what God is, God simply is. God is. God is. That is spirituality. Description of the is, that is religion. Very sweetly he says, as long as there are experiences, as long as there are description of the is, then there will be teachings, books, authors, religions, and dogma, and so on. But just acceptance of the is, experience of the is. Ade tattu, ade sit, ade sattu, ade chittu, ade tat sat, chit, ade tattu, ade sattu, ade chittu, he said. These are the three words he used. That is the tattvam, the principle, existence, eternal existence. There is no death for that existence, there is no birth for that existence, there never was or is or will be in that existence. There is no past, there is no future, there is no thought of time. It's the perennial existence. God is. God is. Devudu unnadu. Swami has spoken about this in discourses as well. Devudu unnadu. That is enough for us to know that God is, and that is alive in each one of us. Our difficulty comes because it is so simple that we fail to accept it. We'll say, oh, that is philosophy. We'll wait for some, we don't know when that will happen. Oh, Swami, that is all right. But right now, help me get my job, or help me get this, or get me that. It's not wrong in asking, but then what happens is, we get caught up in that same small little I, me, and mine. Poor me, I'm struggling, help me out here, help me out there. Swami say, come to the Kalpa Vriksha, you're asking for coffee powder. Papa main chasing the Kalpa Vriksha, will give you coffee powder. But the Kalpa Vriksha, the wish fulfilling tree is there to give you so much more. But you will get what you ask, and therefore you ask for coffee powder, you get coffee powder. Perhaps with the best coffee. By the way, my friend Giridhar is there, he makes the best coffee here. He's from Australia, and he says Australians make the best coffee. I don't know how true that is, but his coffee is really good. But that's what we get. We get coffee powder because we ask for coffee, and we enjoy the coffee. And then we go back and ask for more. But what if we go and be in the presence, in the is, and simply be in the presence, knowing that this is a wish-fulfilling tree. I don't need to place my desire there. It's not a wish-demanding tree. It's not asking you what is it that you wish and I'll grant it. It grants you. And that means it knows your wish even before it materializes in your unconscious or subconscious. That's how powerful a wish-fulfilling tree is. That's why it's kalpa vriksha, never-ending tree. And if the presence of God is that wish-fulfilling tree, if every wish is granted, every dream realized, then why ask? Why not be in that presence in complete unconditional acceptance? That acceptance is the hallmark of a devotee. That acceptance that we have within us, what he saw within us, and what he sees within us, what he saw within us, what he taught that is within us, is the divine principle itself, no different from what he experienced. How beautiful is that? How profound is that? And yet, for some reason, we have a block. In general, I'm saying. I don't mean to say this as a matter of judgment, but these are moments where we need to introspect. Why is it so difficult for me to believe that there is really no difference between the divine and I? How do we take away that difference and simply have this gratitude of unconditional acceptance? Because in that acceptance, we are accepting that we are the divine principle. And everything, every abundant energy of the universe, every powerful energy of the universe manifests from me and comes unto me, and therefore I am not devoid of anything. Expansion is my love. There is no reason for love, no season for love. And in that love, in that all-embracing energy, everything becomes possible. I know this sounds abstract and very philosophical or conceptual. Some of you with the young minds, which is almost every one of you, the only exception is me. The young minds might say, but wait a minute, this is what's practical. How can I feel I'm part of the abundant universe? And where is the proof of concept? This is the proof of concept. I didn't hesitate a moment to say that because I truly believe this. When I was young and I was going to the St. Xavier's High School, I was taught about Jesus Christ, who was a son born in a manger. Nobody knew who he was. They tried to hide his birth. They tried to bring him up as a son of a carpenter, right? But then he became the Son of Man. And as a young boy growing up, for those of you who don't know, my only gurus then were Amitabh Bachchan and Vinod Khanna. Vinod Khanna was the backup, just in case something happened to Amitabh Bachchan. For me, with those, I questioned everything. I said, so what's the big deal about there has to be a story. How can a son of carpenter suddenly become son of man? That's just fabricated stories. I come home, Krishna Janmashtami, nice sweets are there, and then they tell me the story of Krishna. As a young boy, I heard he's born in a prison. His talk of physical abuse. His uncle was known for the king of physical abuse, and so he's born in a prison of all God's forsaken places, and then he's whisked away from his birth mother in the midst of a storm-troubled night, and then taken away to a village, and he's raised as a cowherd, and then he becomes emperor of Dwarka. I was like, give me a break. This has to be a story, fabricated. How can some cowherd do that? How can some ordinary person suddenly become king of Dwarka or the emperor? You need to have some connection. Something has to happen. Because that's what I saw in the movies. You struggle, roti, kapda, or makan. You sing a dance, you dance in the rain and you cry for roti, kapda, and makan. You struggle, and we connect with that. Oh yeah, I know. We all have to struggle in life. We teach it to our children. We learn it as children. Nothing comes without struggle. You have to struggle, and we build this life of constant going somewhere. We have to earn our living. We have to work for it, and this and that. And somebody tells you the story, he was a cowherd, he became the emperor. It's hard to believe. And then I found Baba in Puttaparthi, 1979, when I went to see him for the very first time. I didn't know who he was. I chose to go far away from my home because nobody would force me to study, number one. Number two, the village was a very refreshing scene from the city life in Bombay. The third was Swami. Swami was number three because I didn't know about Swami. And I discovered as I stayed there, then all these other stories suddenly began to make sense why. For a moment, or a few moments, let us put aside the thought that Swami is avatar, Swami is God. We are the experts in putting labels. We have, like I said, I was expert in saying God is omniscient, omnipresent, without even an iota of what I'm talking. But we have learned this, we passed it on. We verbally say, yes, this is his avatar, Kali Yuga avatar, and so on and so forth. But for a moment, let's put that aside and look at Swami in a physical form. Just as a young boy, because we are celebrating the Avatar Declaration Day, though a few days later. But these are the moments we should, the whole generation of us who saw him, who experienced him in any form, whether it was one darshan, or whether we just listened to him. Because 100 years from now, 200 years from now, it wouldn't matter who was in his room or outside his room. The fact that you knew him, touched him, or seen him would be a matter of celebration in your families, in your great-grandchildren's families. So, for a moment, let's put aside those labels and look at this young boy in a village. He was not born in a manger. He was not born in a prison cell. And yet, he was born in a village that was not even on the map of India. Nobody had heard of Puttaparthi. Nobody had seen Puttaparthi. And the name was scary, Puttaparthi, the house of scorpions and snakes. That's what it means. We talk of branding and naming, right? Look at what God chooses. Everything, all the odds seem to be stacked up against divinity, and he switches that. We have a lesson to learn there. And that's why I want you to open your heart. Just as I continue to learn, please, I don't mean to preach this at all. But we are learning to that unconditional acceptance. How can I break free from this condition that I hold on so dearly, conditions that I learned, which was imbibed to me through my education or my culture, or whatever it is. I build conditions and I live in the prison wall of conditions. But here comes Masters once in a while and breaks free from all those conditions to make us realize, wait a minute, if I can do, so can you. And so here was this little boy, 13 or 14 years of age, throws away the books at school and says, enough with this. I have a mission to accomplish. I have a lamp of love to light. I have human values to teach. And he embarks on this mission of embracing the world through selfless love. I don't want followers, I don't want doctrines, I don't want dogma and religious things. I've come to teach you the light of love, teach you that love that grows in your heart, shining brightly day by day. That's all I want to do. Teach us once again the path of love. That young boy, when he declares it in this village, I say this because we think of a project to take up. And the first thing we take up, either the service project or we think of something for the SSC kids, whether it's a small play or something, we immediately line up all the things that could not make it happen, all the things that can happen. Why? Because it teaches strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, SWOT analysis, put everything and then take a decision. We don't know if those kind of decisions are really the best. But so far it has been taught to us, and so we all blindly apply. But Swami didn't say, sit down and put out its strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats. And this young boy in the village didn't know anything about that. He embarks on this mission. What happens in that? When he sets out to do this, what happens? What does his parents say? We are so proud of you, my child. Patted him on his back and sent him on with this great encouragement. No. At least Krishna was, even though he was taken away at birth from his mother, he was raised with a lot of fondness and love with Yashoda, and we hear these stories. But here the moment Swami said this, his family members were aghast. They thought he was possessed. This is a story that happened in our time, right? It's absolutely verifiable even. They thought he was possessed. They took him to exorcists who cut open his head, And I do remember Swami unable to hear from, not unable, but his hearing was affected for the rest of his life on 1 year because of that, because he was physically abused, and they said we're going to drive out the spirit which says it wants to spread something what they call love. I don't know what this is. We're raising him to be a coward, go in the morning and come back in the evening. What is he doing now? He wants to give up everything and do something which was completely foreign to people around him. Every odd was stacked up against him, and yet he decided to proceed with clarity of vision and that faith that this will happen. The lessons that I take home from Swami, I didn't see that Swami, obviously. I've heard about it, I've read about it, I've met people who have witnessed that firsthand in the villages back in those days. And those villages were still so, I don't know what to call them, but they would say, now he has become rich, he has forgotten us. That's how they would describe Swami. We were all playing, you play about chala, he became very rich. But they were there, they saw this. Right? They still thought this boy somehow got lucky. He just declared something and went. And we think it's a lucky break, a lucky streak. But it's not so. It's God proving to us. And Swami would tell us many times, years later, that if I would come with 4 hands and Shankha and Chakra, what would you do? You think you're going to worship me? You would put me in a museum, charge fees for darshan. Which exactly what we would have done. Or we would have had a little more likes on Instagram pictures where you could look at this Vishnu walking. But we would not have related to that God. I know we expect God to come in all that grandeur, snakes on his arms and chata and Ganga flowing. It sounds nice, but when they actually come, either we'll be terrified or we will worship, but we'll never relate to that. We'll never relate that as a reflection of who we are. We'll never relate to that. We'll never bring compassion and joy in our hearts in that presence. And therefore, this divine consciousness that we yearn for manifests as our own, like us, like Jesus, like Krishna, like Rama. 2 hands, 2 legs. And then they defy all odds to prove a point that all we need is an unconditional belief in who we are. That's what is the only difference. And so he went on. Did he wave his hand and materialize a mandir? Or many of us think that, oh, Swami is God, he could do it. But I saw the Swami, and many of my alumni friends can verify to this. I loved that. That is what, for me as a young boy who didn't know Baba, saw him and was so attracted to that personality trait where he would not stop at anything, but he would go so focused in what he set out to do. So free from what other people thought about him. And he just went out to do that. No matter what the odds were stacked against him, he didn't seem to see those odds, he just went for it. Because that clarity of vision was there. And we don't because we are conditioned in our thinking. We said we need social networking to be acceptable. We look, if we post a video and 5 people only like it, we feel depressed. And I say this because today it seems like social media defines who we are. No, it doesn't. We are allowing it to define who we are. We are allowing our social status to define who we are. If I am rich, I feel proud. If I have a Mercedes-Benz car that's parked outside, God bless all the Mercedes-Benz parked outside there. But I'm just saying that gives us a sense of confidence. What will others think? I have such a big job. If I buy a Toyota, what will they think? Let me buy a Benz. So we buy a Benz because we allow that to perhaps define us. If I have a PhD, I feel a little more proud when I walk to kids and say, you have good education you need, but because I have a PhD, if they ask, I can tell them. We allow educational degrees to define who we are. We allow our social status, our social standing to define who we are. But what about our inner belief? Does that define who we are? Are we giving that a chance? What if none of this exists? What if we lose our savings? What if we lose our family? What if we lose our material position? Then what will define us? How we define each other is perhaps that we say, oh, you poor fellow, he's lost everything. And he says, I have lost everything. And we feel it, we are a loser, everything is gone. But if I discover who I am I not the richest person? Because that discovery of the self, and that's where the faith comes. The faith comes where we believe that the self within is infinite in nature. It is connected to the cosmic existence, the sub-principle. The God is principle. That is the is that is within us. If I can connect to that, then there is nothing that can stop me from doing what I want, because then I manifest it as part of the divine expression through me. That is what we saw in Swami. When Swami sent us for a water project many years ago, in the mid-80s, and it took off really 10 years later or 12 years later, I remember going with engineer Jay Kumar and others, for some of you who know him. In the jeep, he would pick one or two of us and say, go with him. We were happy because Swami just picked us and we went, not knowing what it was. We weren't engineers, but I think Swami sent us to see how these things happen. And to me, those are very powerful lessons. The vision is large, the vision is beautiful, and what is the vision of Swami? Free water to villages. We have to give water to everybody. We have to give water to everybody. One single jeep going, 4 people in that jeep. All we do is go around, ask few questions. Where is a bore well here? Do you people have a bore well here? Come back and report to Swami. Swami will say, how many bore wells? Okay. So we can put one bore well. Like later on we'll see about that village, we will see. Because funds were always it wasn't freely available, right? So let's put one bore well. And as a young boy sitting there, I used to think, and he would go out in the veranda after that meeting, he'd be very happy. He's got one bore well fixed on a village, right? One single bore well for one little village, a hamlet which perhaps had 20 homes there. And then he would go to the veranda and say, I've started a water project. Every village here is getting water. At that moment, as a young boy, I thought Swami was exaggerating or telling lies, and I couldn't understand. He says he's Sathya, why he's doing it? But now I understand that vision is never compromised. The steps are small, but every step is a manifestation of that vision, and therefore that is true. But what do we do? What is the truth that we do? We say, no, we are taking small steps. We are taking small steps. One borewell we put here, not all villages. We think it's humility. But you know what? We are denying ourselves that large vision, and therefore we remain small. A small center, a small group, a small program, a small thing. We remain small till the day we die. We bear this cloak of humility because we are afraid to think big. Because thinking big breaks us free from condition. Oh my God, who am I to do that? But Swami said, Undergo, everybody gets water. And guess what? That vision materialized 10 or 12 years later. Free education. Baba was another vision. These are visions that are going to transform the way humanity thinks. If not today, if not tomorrow, or 100 years from now, there is no doubt about it. Because we all know medicine is reaching a point of where it's becoming so expensive, the only way out is to offer it free. It's going to happen. It's not now, for sometime in the future. And so it is with education. Education is going to be free. Because he has sowed the seed and he said it will never go waste. And it won't. But imagine his vision was never compromised. He took baby steps. Those baby steps he did not say that the vision will grow, let us start small. He never thought small. So one small school, Ishwaramba High School, Telugu medium school in village, but it is free education. And it matured into a Sai University, free education. The vision was the same. The vision never grew or was small. It was just a pure, uncluttered vision. Many years later, when we were doing PhD, Swami took us to Chennai with him, the 4 of us, the PhD boys, for 2 reasons. One, again, beautiful, innocent Swami. When he heard that the science boys can do research in the labs for the PhD in physics and chemistry and biology, history PhD can be done by reading books. But then Swami was told for commerce, they are doing PhD in banking and finance. They need to go to banks. They have to go to reserve banks because these are the days, for some of you who don't know, these are the days of when we had no Google, no internet, and nothing to check. All data was literally in books. So we had to go and get that. And so Swami said, how can I send them to Chennai and everywhere? No. These boys don't even know how to cross a road. He was so worried. We were grown up PhD boys, 27 years old, 25, 26 years old. And Swami said, no. Okay, I'm going to Chennai, let them come with me. So we were cool, can complain, right? You get a ride with Swami. There's so many lessons in that journey, but I want to focus on this one beautiful thing because it really clarifies this point here. Again, it was an eye-opening moment for me. So in that one afternoon, he took us to an old devotee's house. She was, that is perhaps the first time I saw Vatsalya Bhava, like a mother with a child type of thing. So she was an old lady and very elderly, much more older than Swami. And so Swami sat down and said, bring your albums, show these boys old pictures. Many of them are available, I believe, today on the internet. But I still remember that lady saying, no, Swami, if I bring it, you will take away those pictures. Last time you took 2 pictures, I never saw it again. Swami said, okay, I promise I won't take those pictures. Show the boys something. Very unique, and Swami started laughing. Look at her, she's telling me kind of thing. But she bought the albums and we opened it, and Swami was watching it, and we were watching all the black and white pictures, olden days pictures with Swami. And then Swami said, Chapu, tell your experience to them. And she said many things. One thing it struck me that time as well, and it stays with me even to this day. And that was this. She said, as a young boy, Swami would come to our house and he would come and do bhajans. Till late in the night, he would do satsang and bhajans. He'll say, get coffee for everybody. You want to stay awake. And this lady said, we used to tell Swami, please Swami, we have to go to work tomorrow. My husband has to go to work tomorrow. You please go to sleep. You can do all this satsang tomorrow. But as a young boy, he was, burning with enthusiasm. No, let's get more people. Let's do more bhajans and more satsang. Whatever it is he was doing in their homes. During that time, she said that we told Swami, a lesson for all of us here. She said, we told Swami that Swami, you want to start this mission. You're hitchhiking rides to come to Madras and go to Bangalore, or you're taking car and driving, and you're borrowing car. So that's what Swami used to do. You borrow somebody's car or hitchhike a ride. You're going to Bangalore, okay, can I come? Take me with you. So he used to come, and why? Because he wants to spread his mission. So humble and so beautiful that you set out to something and look at every step taking you towards that. Don't wait for the ducks to get lined up in a row. When he had 5 people with him, he was already accomplished. It didn't matter to him whether 5 people or 50 people or 50,000 people. So she told Swami that you are coming all the way to Chennai every time. You are having great difficulty traveling. We are having even greater difficulty coming to Puttaparthi because half the time your river is flooded, we can't cross, we have to get bullock carts. We can't afford to do that. So here is the thing. So they have solutions. Solutions that you and I think are practical solutions. My husband has got good influence in the British government. He can talk to them and they will gladly get you a land in Chennai. Why don't you build an ashram here? In a God-forsaken place, Puttaparthi, why are you going? Who will come to you then? Please listen to us, Sathya. Chalad the They said, please listen to us. But she said, Swami was adamant that it has to be in Puttaparthi. So here's where the teenagers, youngsters, you can get away with being adamant. You say even Swami was adamant. That clarity is amazing, right? Isn't it very practical if somebody says, here are $5 million for you to start a center, and you say, Swami sent you, please sit down, we'll do extra arati for him also along with Swami. Because we're so happy. Because the moment something immediately comes our way, we don't even think, we don't allow wisdom to guide us. Immediately we grab because that's what we're looking for, we get it, and we go ahead and finish it. So when Swami is so desperately looking into setting up an ashram, a place for people to come, somebody says, we will get you that. Why would he say no? I don't have the answer for it, but I'm asking you to think like me. If I was in his shoes, I would have said, thank you so much, you're my number one devotee. That is the beauty. He said, no, it has to be built there. That is my birthplace. That is the place it has to be built. And they said, it cannot be built there. Everything points against. There's not even a single road there. Look at it today. A national highway goes into Puttaparthi. A railway station connecting to all the trains across India goes to Puttaparthi. An airport is there in Puttaparthi. Like every road leads to Rome. Every road is connected that you can go to Puttaparthi now without thinking twice about whether the river is flooded or anything. We don't think twice. You plan Puttaparthi in your agenda and your trip to India, you know you're going to be there. does that one little boy, an 8th grade dropout, who apparently didn't know anything, who was innocent and adamant, how did he do that? What did he do that you and I are today praising him as the avatar, the God principle? What did he unconditionally accept? His divinity. And he allowed the divinity to flow. Nothing is possible unto the divine. Two of us were sitting at Swami's feet. One boy coughs. Swami looks at him and says, is your throat not good? He says, no, Swami. He's really embarrassed. He said, it's okay. And he clears his throat again after a few minutes. Swami said, hey, tell your cold to go away. It will go away. He smiled at Swami. It doesn't happen like that. He said, no, Cheppu Potundi. We smiled at Swami. Swami says, no, if I get some blood comes in, I say, go back. Potundi. Again he smiled. Our smile revealed a lot to Swami. Because our smile revealed, you can do it, we can't. Maybe I can do it, you cannot. We said, we nodded, yes, of course, Swami, you can do it, we can't. Then Swami said, what is the difference? Why can't I do and you can't do? Where is the difference between you and me? Swami, what is that? And then Swami went on, like in 2 minutes, he went fast. He said, you have 2 hands. Meeku rendu cheyi undi, naaku rendu cheyi undi. Kaalu unda, naaku kuda kaalu undi. Meeku rendu kannu unda, naaku kannu undi. Walking, talking, reading, writing, meeru chestunnaru, nenu chestunanu. What he meant was, you have 2 hands, I have 2 hands. You have 2 feet, I have 2 feet. Walking, talking, reading, writing, you guys do, I also do. Where is the difference? And he leaned forward, looking into eyes. Cheppandi, where is the difference? And we looked into his eyes. At that moment, I almost felt there is no difference. But before that feeling crystallized, he said, Kani undi, there is. And he paused me. Kani undi, there is a difference. He leaned back. Look at where the difference is. He pointed to his eyes. Ikkada undi difference. Ikkada undi. And we didn't get it. Chupulo means in perception. Difference is there in perception. There is only one difference. That difference is chupulo, perception. What is that difference in perception? And then Swami goes to explain. You think you are all a small little atom in this Brahmanda, in this vast universe. బ్రహ్మాండంలో నేను ఒక చిన్న అణు అదే అనుకుంటారు కదా మీరు. He said, in this vast universe, I am just an atom in this vast universe. Don't you think like that? And we nodded, of course. That's like our best place to go to. Isn't that the humility that we wear? Who am I? I'm nothing. Even at this moment when I say this, isn't that perfectly sane and reasonable for us to think like that? Because logically speaking, scientifically speaking, everything we are, but a minuscule representation or an existence compared to the vastness of the universe. Kani na chupulo, now he pauses, now the master comes out. He says, na chupulo, my perception, this vast universe is an atom in me. You think you are an atom in the universe. I see the universe as an atom in me. The universe as an atom. The universe comes out from him. The universe merges into the consciousness. That is what we do in Ganesha, Shesham, and all of these chants. And that isness, that consciousness, he says, exists in you and me. How do we then get there? How do we begin to embrace that? We can keep talking like this for hours together, but how do we embrace that consciousness? And Swami gives us a beautiful, simplest key that is written in the Vedantas, in the Puranas, and everything he did. He's just come to reaffirm that. And all he says is, chant the name of God. Chant. Immerse yourself in the smarana, nama smarana. Namasmarana is when I constantly contemplate on the name of God. The mind has no form of its own, no shape of its own. It doesn't exist independent of the data that is provided through thoughts. A bundle of thoughts is a mind, correct? At night, where is the mind? Swami would ask. Where is the mind? At night, when you sleep. The mind doesn't exist. Why? Because there is no thought. As long as there is thought, the mind exists. So mind is like a virtual reality. And therefore, the mind has no shape. The thought gives it the shape. In other words, the mind becomes a thought it is entertaining at that moment. See how powerful that is. And that is why in Sanatana Dharma and in Swami's path, the simplest things are the most profound and the most powerful thing. The mind has no shape. The mind becomes the thought it entertains at that moment. And therefore it is that every time the nature of our thought determines the nature of reality that we see and we experience. Because that is what I constantly entertain. If I think I'm small, and if I think I have to struggle in life, if I think this is the reality, then the mind becomes that. And therefore all I see is only that. In our perception. But if my mind is constantly thinking of Sai who accomplished this, of Rama who accomplished that, single-handedly takes on the whole empire across in a foreign land, searching for his wife, almost with all odds stacked up against him. Krishna, from a cowherd to that. How does that happen? So when I fill my mind with Krishna, Rama, that moment the mind becomes that. And the more I contemplate on Krishna and Rama, the more the mind begins to draw upon that infinite energy of that Krishna and Rama, the infinite energy of Sai. And then Sai begins to work through you. That principle begins to work through you. Swami is not just one guru who came to awaken divinity in us. He's a very principle, fundamental existence that the Vedas proclaim as the Veda Purusha. It's a fundamental existence that has become all of this. It is a Nataraja whose dance is what we are experiencing. That principle is awakening and telling us, come to us in a human form, manifested amidst us. From the depths of our own consciousness, the avatar comes, reminds us, wait a minute, I'm in you. Recognize me. And then merges back into our consciousness, back to the sleeping state. He's just waiting to be awakened. He's just one call away. Swami, where is Swami now? He's just one call away. In our hearts, can we call out to him? All names are mine, all of forms are mine. And therefore that Nama, the Namasmarana, truly brings us to that state of unconditionally accepting. It is all our experience. When we sing a bhajan, as we had such beautiful bhajans a few moments ago, you don't have to understand the words, it's just the rhythm, the melody, the experience just lifts your mind up, right? There are moments, not all the time, but there are moments where you feel connected. You feel connected to a source much higher than you, much larger than life. We feel that connection and therefore we say, oh, it was so beautiful. I had a great experience. What was that experience? You can't define what that experience was, but you love that experience. That's what draws you to a bhajan, to the Namasmarana. And therefore let us take a few moments just to use this key and go into this Namasmarana. Please join me in singing a bhajan along and connecting to that divine source. It's important that we go to this Kalpa Vriksha, this divine source, and just enjoy the joy of being in that company. That is so, so very important. Adi Shankara, many years ago, gave this, in spite of being completely established in that oneness, Advaita that we call it, Advaita, there is no duality there in his consciousness. He knows there is only one consciousness that has become all of this. And therefore we are all part of one. But how do we connect to that? How do we relate to that? And what does he say? Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Muramate. Foolish one. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Muramate. Samta नहि रक्षति दुष्कृङ्करणे नहि रक्षति दुष्कृङ्करणे भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज राधे कृष्ण राम गोविन्द गोकुलनन्दन गोपाला कृष्ण राम गोविन्द गोकुलनन्दन गोपाला राम कृष्ण गोविन्द जय वृन्दावन गोपाला राम कृष्ण गोविन्द जय वृन्दावन गोपाला साई कृष्ण गोविन्द जय वृन्दावन गोपाला साई कृष्ण गोविन्द जय वृन्दावन गोपाला 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 राधे गोपाला गोपाला राधे गोपाला गोकुलनन्दन गोपरिपाला राधे गोपाला गोकुलनन्दन गोपरिपाला राधे गोपाला भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज गुणवते. Sanskrit sounds nice when you sing it, but what he's saying is a foolish one, Mudamate. He's not mincing words there. Wake up and chant. Chanting is not necessarily only singing, but when we chant, we become that. We think about that. We become that. At this moment, there were Sahasrara Sirsha, Purushaka, Sahasrara, all of them became Rama and Krishna for those moments. Imagine if we constantly do that. The more we constantly do that, the more the mind begins to unleash itself, because it is now connecting to a source that is unending in its capacity to give. I saw that in Swami. As a young boy, being in his room for a few months there, watched him, and I thought, how does he get this energy to do what he is doing? What was he doing? Just sitting in one chair, reading letters, giving darshan, and coming back. So what's the big deal about that, you might ask? And I challenge anyone here, thinking it's not such a big deal, to lock yourself in a room which is built by stone walls, painted blue, pink and yellow if you want. No paintings on the wall, no TVs to entertain you. There's one single 100-watt bulb, one fan, one straight back chair, not a recliner. And your only entertainment is to read letters of people, most of them being complaints and wants and asking. You might say, okay, that's not a problem, I can do it. Over a weekend? Yes, of course. How about a week? Maybe. How about a month? How about decades? How about making it your lifestyle? His windows in his room had wooden panels. If you go to the mandir even to this day, I don't think they modified that. It's still there. The wooden panels are, so there is a window of 6 panels, 5 of them are closed, 1 is open. A thick mosquito mesh, barely allowing light to come in. That was the only daylight he received. Think of you wants to go for a walk, who's just feeling cooped up at home, and you just spend a few hours at home, or maybe a weekend at home. Oh, we never got to go out, it's raining, it's cold, it's autumn weather, it depresses me, I need to get out somewhere. We take a flight and go off to Florida. Incidentally, Anika ji and Suraj ji were founders of this. They are wonderful home in Florida. Sorry. An escape retreat, if you will. But the point here is we want to run away to sun. We feel, oh, this is so beautiful, God's nature, green trees, beautiful grasses. But the one who painted them, the one from whose consciousness all these images, he doesn't experience that. He didn't experience anything. And I thought, how could one maintain his sanity by living like this day in and day out? His only exposure was when he came out, and he had to be very conscious because now he's with devotees. He would take the whole group, talk to them, that's counseling, and then he goes back into his room to his aloneness. Every day. And that room was barely 10 feet by 12 feet. His bedroom was even smaller, even darker. His bathroom even smaller, even darker, even more dingier. So where did he draw that energy from? That was my question. And the only way my logical mind could explain this, he is tapping into a source that is unending in its capacity to give. He is tapping into that source. And to me, that faith in Swami grew from that. There is no way a person can be so positive, so clear in his thinking, so vivid in what exactly he wants to do, such a strong leader by being alone, cooped up in that room, just reading letters. There was no other source of information. We didn't watch motivational YouTube videos telling him how to carry on this mission. There was no Instagram things to watch, just to chill and relax. He was all the time with that eternal flame, that the intensity of that supreme being, if you will. We didn't feel the heat, or we were not scared and all of that, but the point there was that intensity was very clear, very evident. And that's why nobody even closest to Swami would say, let me put in a word to Swami. Swami is now in a good mood, I'll go talk to him. Nobody. The only exception who dared speak to Swami was Professor Anil Kumar, and that's why we would give him great regard. He would say, you hit me, Swami, if you want, but I have this question is burning in my heart, I will ask you. Swami said, no, Swami, please, you now only explain, you don't escape like this. And he had that was his bhava. Nobody else would dare imitate him. But that was his bhava, he connected to Swami. But anyone else whom I knew never had that freedom, they always kept quiet. And here's the most powerful part of Swami's personality was, nobody would speak to him on their own. Like I said, the only exception was Professor Anil Kumar, who met him once in a while. But on a daily basis, nobody spoke to him on their own unless he initiated a conversation. Everybody respected his space. To the point that I thought he was alone. How come he has no friends? What does he do to chill or go and say, enough of darshan and all of that, let's just chill and relax? Don't we do that after a heavy event? After the 100th birthday, I know we'll all say, Papa, now you don't have to think of next Samadhi day, we just relax, let's cool off. We all have that because we feel we're doing something else out of the ordinary, and then we have to go back to being ordinary because this is the reality we have defined for us. For us, food is a source of nourishment, sleep is a source of rest. Not that we have to deny ourselves that, but we keep coming back into our cage thinking this is what it is. And we step out thinking we're doing something else, and we come back rushing back to it. His was stepping out and exploring the unknown, bravely, fearlessly, was his home. And that expansion never stopped. That vision never stopped. Was never tainted by what is not there. It was always by what it should be, what it is. He saw everything as if it already manifested there. And he spoke of that manifestation to everybody. And there it was manifested. Free medicine was a small little hospital for over 25 years, up in the hill, for many of you know this. Small little hospital. It grew to a little more bigger building, but it was free education to free medicine to whoever comes. And that manifested eventually as a super specialty hospital. Now there's no one, there's 2, 3, 4, 5, and more coming. It doesn't matter who's starting it, whether they're devotees of Swami, whether they understood Swami, this or that, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, in Swami's name, free medicine is becoming more and more. Every guru who starts an ashram wants to start a free medicine, free hospital, and free. So who was a trailblazer? Who set that path for everybody? None other than Swami. The true leadership that Swami brought, it was allowing his divinity to find expression, unbridled, free expression. And he taught us, continues to teach us, that we too can do that with our lives. And therefore this gratitude of unconditional acceptance to me is the most empowering power or attitude that we can develop. Unconditionally accept that within me lies this infinite power that is waiting to manifest through my thoughts, through my words, through my deeds. And all I have to do is allow that. And that will present the vision, that will manifest the vision. I just have to allow it, not block it, because I have learned to be afraid, or I've learned to be practical, or I think this needs to be first in place, that needs to be first in place, then only that can come, only this can come. And many of these stories I repeat it again and again, but it is so much, it inspires me even to this day. And that's why what is in my heart and mind I share here. You probably heard this from me many times over, but it's worth considering again the same thing. Because when we think of something cannot happen now, this is so practical, how can you say this can manifest? This is exactly what happened when Swami had 3 colleges, just started, and then he calls the registrar and says, what do we need to do to make this a university? And the registrar clears his throat and then tells him, Swami, we need an electron microscope in our labs, we need this and we need that. And then he gives a list. I was there sitting, pressing Swami's feet when this dialogue was going on. I was looking, Swami was like a very innocent child. Oh, all this we need, oh, okay. And they're going on with the list. Then Swami got a little tired of listening to that list. He said, okay, then what happens? They said, Swami, then a commission comes, a Vice Chancellor's commission. The top educationists from all over the country, they have a commission, University Grants Commission. They will come, they will inspect. What have you done so far? How many years you have been in existence? And then they will decide whether to grant the university or not. But before that day comes, Swami, we need all of this. Swami said, oh, they are the ones who are granting? He said, yes. Then call them. When Swami said this, the hostel was not ready. College was just almost complete but not ready. The planetarium was half built or just being started at. Everything was incomplete here. Swami said, the commission, okay, call the commission. So again the registrar cleared his throat. Swami Adhikar son, first what about the list? Because he thought, and I can't say what he thought, but I definitely tell you what I thought. I thought Swami did not understand this whole thing. Swami missed the point of that whole list before. See, I'm telling you this, and all of us need to ask ourselves, because we think we are practical when we bring limitations in our lives. Oh, we need to do this, then only we can get there. We set forth that. Why? Because we have watched others do this, we think that is the only way. Why can't there be another way? Why can't there be a completely out of the blue way, like God does it? And when somebody does it, we say, oh no, you are God, you can do it, we can't. And we miss the boat. But he comes to awaken that it's possible. And this is what I saw in that innocence of Swami, lay his divinity. And he says, oh, acha, they will come, call them. They said, Swami, they will come, there's nothing to see. I know, call them. Call them. How do you put a finger on this? I want to share with you this because that moment I just couldn't think of possibility of this being a success at all. What do you mean call them? What is Swami going to tell them? But the beauty of that was 27, 28 people came, top educationists. Here's the 8th grade dropout sitting on a chair. They are sitting on the floor. Look at the irony of the situation. And he is giving them a vision of university. What was his vision? Of course, he also picked a few of us to take care of each of the vice chancellors. He said, no, you are dress up neatly. He gave us white pant, white shirt, stitch new clothes, say good morning, good night, don't say Sai Ram, they won't understand. Everything he gave us all very well. When you're serving, you have to be clean, wear always neat clothes. And so beautifully he took care of you. I want them to see you. I want them to understand what Swami is setting up to do. So there was such a humanness, simplicity, a straightforward, beautiful approach to this. And then he calls them inside. What happens there, nobody knows. He comes out, he came to the bhajan hall, he says, how many of you want degree in Sathya Sai University? Of course we raised our hands because we were the first batch there. Swami said, all of you will get it. And we were so thrilled. A year later, we got the deemed university status was given, we got degrees with Swami's grace and Swami's presence. We received that degree. Swami is very shy when he first dressed in that purple robe. There was the beauty, the innocence, the joy of just fearlessly embracing his divinity and letting it experience, let it express itself, and be part of that journey, be part of that celebration. He celebrated himself, he celebrated who he was. There was no I am doing this, I am God, I have to be like God, oh God, so many people have come for me, now I have to pretend to be. It was nothing like that. There was no pretense for Swami. It was who he was. And in being authentic, in being the integrity in us, is what I think is true divinity waiting to happen. The moment we say we have to become something, to prove something, then we lose the authentic part of who we are. And the most authentic part of who we are is being divine. Young children, small children, they don't know how to walk. They're just toddlers or barely learning how to walk. They fall so many times. But nobody tells them, you've fallen so many times, you can't walk. Nobody tells them. As parents, we tell them, yes, yes, come to me, and playfully call them, and they don't like it. They're crying because they want to be lifted up. You and I did that, by the way. So, and then we fall once, fall twice, but then we learn the magic of walking. Because we believe that we can walk. We believe that we can walk. Simply because our parents told us. At that time, there was no conditions telling us, no, you have fallen 3 times. You walk 2 steps, you have fallen 3 times. You can't do it. Nobody tells us. The inner self-talk was innocent, free from conditions. And therefore the child walks. You and I walk. At that age, the child knew no shame, no fear. He didn't say this person is, I can go to this person is bad, I can't go to this person. There was no such thing. There was no fear in the child. There's no shame in the child. There's no sense of sorry and thank you in a child. Innocence. But in that innocence lay divinity, right? That's why we don't see an ugly child. There is no such thing as an ugly child. There is only beauty. The most beautiful things are puppies and children. They drool. Yet they are beautiful. They wear just big oversized diapers and walk around. Yet they are beautiful. So dress doesn't make one beautiful. Speech doesn't make one beautiful. They just go baba boo boo and we are like, oh my gosh, how cute is that? Right? The gate is horrible, so to speak, from our beauty pageant page where we define who is beautiful or what is beautiful. So from that, how do we begin to condition beauty, define beauty, and then we sell that beauty, and all of us borrow that beauty and define ourselves, oh, I'm not that beautiful. Because we are living on a borrowed definition of what is beautiful. We are living on a borrowed definition of what is success. We are living on a borrowed idea of what is truly living life or enjoying life. It's a borrowed idea. We subscribe to it, like we subscribe to a channel. We subscribe to these commonly held beliefs. And these commonly held beliefs keep us wanting, keep us chasing, always yearning to get there. And we're all running a mad race, nobody knows where. But we're all rushing. And yet he is fully content, with no education, with nothing to begin with no influential father or mother to say, I will take you on, meet you, get you good contacts for you to start your selfless mission. Nothing. One young boy. But completely content in who he was. That contentment in being divine manifested everything in Swami's life. That is a lesson I take home. That is a humble perspective I allow to motivate my every day of my life. Swami sent a message. Swami sets an example. This is the example I take home. Why can't we then, as devotees of Swami, allow that same energy to find expression through us? And then our children look up to us because they see us as truly persons being so authentic to ourselves, to our divinity, and that divinity expresses itself. We find our own true meaning in life. We find our mission in life. We find our purpose in life. And we find that purpose being fulfilled. That contentment breeds contentment and happiness, and a sense of gratitude fills our mind. Thoughts. This was the perspective of Swami. And yet he was a child. I still remember Professor Jagdishan, Brother Jagdishan from Malaysia, who wrote a book, Journey to God. It was in 1980 or 81 that was published. I was in Swami's room. So he gets that Journey to God, part 1. And in that part 1, I remember this because that was a moment I can never forget. I was so new to Swami then. And that he opens that book and he's in the night. He took it perhaps from him during darshan time. So in the evening, he had letters, and also after dinner he went upstairs, sat down, and he took that book. There's a big picture of Swami looking straight in that original curve. Anyway, he looked at that book and then he started watching the book, opening the pages. And so we were in front of Swami sitting. And then here is this I said he celebrated who he was. What did I mean by that? Why do I use these words? It's because of this. So he's opening this book, then he paused. His eyes became wide, like a 5-year-old. Oh, shouldn't he? Vibhuti is coming. Who's saying this? Swami is saying this. He's taking the book, turning. Should Vibhuti vasthundi? Akadanta Vibhuti vastundanta. Should he's saying Kutumbara was there. Shouldn't he? Then he took, there was another, the Malaysian goddesses were there. Oh, Amritam Kuda vasthundi. Shouldn't. Like that. Like, oh my gosh, who is this? How is this happening? And I was sitting, I was like, wait a minute, you should be the one doing this. Right? So there's never I never existed in Sudu, what I'm doing. Maybe there was a context in which he did that, I don't know, but at this moment, it was so beautifully enjoying his own Leela, as if it was happening, he was not portraying this, he was truly experiencing it. He was so excited, each page he was watching, like this, and after, of course, he kept and went, we scrolled the book and we also watched it. What was these pictures that energized Swami so much? And we just saw pictures of Vibhuti and Kumkum and Amritam all around Singapore or Malaysia, wherever the pictures were, he documented. But there was I was not mature enough to understand that. But when I go back to thinking of those, when I meditate upon these experiences, contemplate upon them, the beauty is when the I doesn't exist, the manifestation is already there. And it doesn't matter who's enjoying it or who's done it, the author doesn't matter, the owner doesn't matter, it is just about enjoying the experience, being as it is in the experience. So he was enjoying his own leader. He would ask, a lady once told about her experience with Swami appearing in her home, and Swami sitting like 5-year-old listening. Like this, so waiting for that end. So she kind of dragged the story a little bit. Swami said, ending. Swami couldn't wait for the ending. Ending chapter. And she said, Swami, then I had darshan. And Swami was immediately happy, took the kerchief, wiped himself, sat back. The story had a good ending. She got darshan. Because he's now worried. Because she's praying for Swami and he's in that story with her. He's in that journey with her. In the moment, the perfect moment, he becomes that. Because there's no inhibitions. I know the ending. It's not. Being God is, I think, joyful experience. Because you're rediscovering, like every soap bubble for a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, they play with it. Every soap bubble is such a game. They laugh at the most serious things we think. But for the child, it's the most beautiful thing. It was like that with Swami. We saw in so many instances like that. We'll probably touch upon that more in this afternoon. Because how else can we relate to that other than devotion, right? We'll talk about that when we perhaps again put another lens and look at the same divine experience of devotion. But here we need to ask ourselves, what is it that I need to accept in our lives? What is it that I need to accept? Do I need to accept that He is God, He is the avatar? That is the last thing, if you ask me. Oh, how do I convince my children about Swami's divinity? People ask me. How do we convince SSC kids about Swami's divinity? And I tell them, what do you know about Swami's divinity that you're not going to turn around and convince others? What is it that you have understood? If you show me an apple and say, hey, Sunder, brother Sunder, here's a mango for you, I'll be like, no, that's an apple. Why? Because I've tasted the mango. I know what mango is. And therefore I can say what is a mango and what is not a mango. But for those of us who claim Swami is God, is equally ignorant as those who say He is not God, because what is God then? What is God? That's why, so when Swami asked me what is God, I had no definition. Every word I used was incomplete for him. He just says stay in the is. What is incomplete for us is complete for him. In the is, in the present, in the moment, in that perennial existence. To us, to me, that unconditional accepting that is the biggest challenge, the biggest journey in spirituality. That God is in me, not different from me. That is a part of me that is in constant touch with the supreme energy of the universe. And therefore, what is it that I need to be afraid of? There is nothing to be afraid of. Why fear when I'm here? I have 9 minutes and time for one story because this sentence came, why fear, and I'm here. This lesson is easy to say, why fear? and we say we are all devotees of Swami, we are doing here, on watch here, and located here, and we've got 10 interviews to take pictures, and we have all these stories. But are we afraid of fear? Are we free from fear? Perhaps, perhaps not. So this lady who told about this experience, that Swami appeared in our home, had a story to say that. And that story was that her neighbor had all miracles happening in their house. Her neighbor in Bangalore had Vibhuti materializing and Amrit materializing, and she would go home and say, I don't know, this Sai Baba comes to my neighbor's house, so I should also call him to my house. So she asked my neighbor, what do you do? She said, I don't know, I just have pictures of Swami. She said, okay, I'll also put a picture of Swami, and then he'll also come all to do this Amrit and Vibhuti in my house. So she put 1, 2, 3 pictures, nothing happened. And she started getting angry. She said, I also do this bhajan, what is this, you're not coming to my home. So one thing led to the other. She decided, I'm going to call upon you and not get from my seat till you come. And that is the story that she was telling in Swami's presence to us. It was very beautiful. And Swami was listening. And she said, without sleep, day and night, I just chanted, Om Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba Namaha, Om Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba Namaha. And then the third day, I had this morning, early morning it was, and I had darshan of Swami. So Swami was still there listening to it, and Swami said, this is darshan of Swami. Swami is very, he's looking at all of us. See? We also know, oh, Swami. And those moments are very beautiful. I'm trying to relive them, honestly. So allow me if I'm a little dramatic. I can't help it. And then Swami said, but she got afraid. She's looking at me, she got afraid. And she felt a little embarrassed. Tell that also. And then so she said, yes, I saw Swami and I was terrified. Now, I don't know how that ended there, because at that moment I was listening to it and I thought, my God, I would do anything for that kind of darshan. But this kind of darshan apparently became boring for us. Swami said, Pratyaksha in front. We are thinking of who you have darshan in your room, that must be great. You know how we always, when it's hot, we want it cold. When it's cold, we want it hot. Always wanting what is not. So we are like that. So we thought, oh my God, that is a great darshan. If she got that darshan, how could she be afraid? I thought, how could she be afraid? She had Swami's darshan. And I thought, devotees, she is to progress a lot more. I guess those kind of thoughts came to my mind, passed by. It was Dashara time. So Swami had called a few of us and he would call some devotees to tell our experience. So boys can pick up tips from that and maybe share that experience. So some boy had taken that story, so that went for me to talk. So when my turn came, I was standing behind the curtain. Dashara evening, there's crowd on the other side of the curtain, Purna is on the auditorium, and Swami is going to come. As it is, there's butterflies in my stomach, thinking what do I talk, how do I frame my talk, and so on. Swami comes, and usually 2 sevadars will part the curtain, because they are huge curtains, right? They're very heavy, they are about 7, 8 feet, or even up to 10 feet, I think they overlap each other. They have a motor that opens it. So, but the motor opens the whole curtain. But when Swami wants, he just wants 2 people to part it, so he steps up. So when we see the old darshans of Swami, the blue velvet and this orange coming out like a small little lamp, a flame, beautiful darshan that is, right? So 2 volunteers will usually part it and Swami will come, because his head doesn't get disturbed, he'll go for darshan. That day, he came out and all this happening very fast. Just about a week after I just thought, how could she be afraid, right? This wife here when I am here. So he's coming and he just indicated to me like this, come. He held my hand. And he's very busy. He also preparing for his talk as I thought. So Swami is going, he held my hand, walked. He waved the sevadars aside, no need. And then he took me, held my hand, and he went into that curtain. So he has to walk, he has to walk like this and come out from there. So when he walked behind me, I'm trying to keep it clear for Swami, and he's holding one hand. So with one hand I'm going, and he stops in the middle, where this side is dark, this side is dark. It's happened in a few seconds. He stopped. He said, are you afraid? Bhayapratnala? He asked. Guess what I should have said? I missed that. That unconditional acceptance. What should I have said? Here is not God appeared. God is holding my hand, right? Holding my hand. And he's asking, are you afraid? Bhayapratnala. What did I say? Yes, Swami. Of course I was terrified. I have to give a talk. What is he holding my hand? Suddenly gone into a curtain and he's stopping and asking, am I afraid? I was terrified. I said, yes. He went like this and sat down. And I sat down, I felt, oh my God, I did it. why did I not answer? I'm not afraid. We are thinking of answers, but the feeling was there. And the feeling was there, that's what happens. So our relation with Swami, our spiritual progress is not judged by the words we speak, by the interactions we do. It's not certainly not measured by our membership to organizations and how many meetings we attend. It is how we respond to situations in our life. Do we take our strides bravely without fear, knowing that God is guiding my step? And if I have to fall and fail in the step, there must be a lesson I have to learn. Let me learn that lesson, let me get up and walk. Because He is guiding my step. Are we doing that in the true knowledge? Or are we always afraid? What if this happens? What if that happens? So if we unconditionally accept Him as our Guru, then let us also unconditionally, and I say unconditionally because I'm learning that, accept the truth. When He says, I am within you, I live in you. I am that God principle in you. He proved to us in flesh and blood, He is that God principle. Continues to prove to us. But at the same time, He is also waiting to be awakened for each one of us. Let us therefore translate our prayers, our faith into brave actions. Take the steps and then invoke Him to come into our life. Pratyaksha, He will come to guide you. I say this from experience. He never lets you go. All you need to take is that one step of faith. Bravely knowing that He is lighting your path. And He will take 100 steps and guide you every step of the way. Sign off.
Thank you so much, brother. I think we all felt how the vibrations of your words and the love from your heart shone and resonated with all of us. So thank you for those reminders and the reminder of that Satchit that God is. And that by accepting that within us, by taking Swami as the foremost example of how he accepted and manifested that within himself with no fear and no reduction of himself into something small, that we too can accomplish the same things that he does with just that change in perception. So let's all take that perception with us as we take a break for lunch, and we'll come back at 1 o'clock for another session with Brother Dr. Sunder Iyer.
Brahmaivathe